Hey everyone. So this video will be good for the next few questions in the homework, starting with number 12 when we're talking about hypothesis tests. Number 12 we'll discuss in just a second here, but all it's asking for is my test statistic, which you can calculate by hand or use some of the technology here that I'm going to show you. Number 13 is the one I'm actually going to work through because it's the lengthy question with all the sub-answers. Okay, number 14 is the same as 13. It's just another practice example of kind of the same thing. Number 15, the only thing missing in this is, I know I give you data can be given to you as raw data. And that's essentially what this table is showing me. This is raw data. But I know that calculating the mean and standard deviation can be a little bit difficult, so I've actually calculated the mean and standard deviation for you from this data. So you really, the only thing you need to know or look at this table for when doing this question as compared to this one is the one piece of information that's missing is the sample size. Okay, so see how this is sample size of 80? This one down here, I don't tell you the sample size because it's right here. All you got to do is count the data values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 data values for this sample size. Okay, and then question 16, the only difference in question 16 is you really have to focus on which one is going to be the null and the alternative. And if you recall, the null hypothesis, we're looking at GPA, so we're looking at means. So I don't want my answer to be a P, so I can eliminate the first one and the last two. And then when I'm doing hypothesis test, the null hypothesis is always equal to. So that does the process of elimination of all the rest. So the one I have left is this one because it's the only one that has a mean, because that's what I'm doing because I'm testing the mean. And so that has to be this one right here. Okay, and then also the alternative then says significantly different than. It doesn't say significantly less than or significantly greater than. So that's why I would use the not equal. All right, and then as I did in questions 9, 10, 11, you can pick which tail this is or which is the appropriate test, which you'll see why in just a moment. And then you can actually get all the answers to this the same way you get to the other ones. Okay, and question 17 is a repeat of 16, so the same idea. And then one more video I'll make is on questions 18, 19, and 20 because that's the difference of it's the mean difference of the two values. Okay. All right. So let's go back. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling here. I don't know what this does to the video, but I'm going back to question number 13 so that we can work on this one. Let's see which one I had here. So this is question 12, and the only thing that's missing when you're doing this is perhaps the confidence level. On some of the websites that I'm going to show you and whatever, you're missing confidence level. So for this one, you can just assume alpha is equal to 0.05. Okay, so that's all you have to do for question 12. So let me pause the video here for a second. I'm going to pull up the next one so I can write all over it. So that's the only thing I need to say about question 12 is just assume that, and we can use the technology that we'll use in the other one. So when you see me use it, you can just go back to this question and use it. All right, so for this one, I just copied and pasted. So I have all the information that I need. I have my significance, my significance level. I have my sample size. I have my mean and my standard deviation. And here I already have my null and alternative hypothesis. So I'm good to go in this question. I just need to calculate then the test statistic and the p-value, and I'm going to use technology to do that. So as I'm going to do as I did with the other questions, I'm going to give you 3 choices. I'm first going to start with the Excel template because that's the easiest. Then I'm going to go to Minitab. Okay, so Minitab, Excel template. And then I'm going to go to step number 3, which is a website. So I'm going to add that link to the sentence so that you have a third option if you're using this on your phone. Okay, so let's first start with the hypothesis template. I've updated it to include some other things, so I got to maybe update this link, but it may look just slightly different than what you have on your version. All right, and I do apologize, this is tiny. So let me first zoom in here. Now I am doing means, not proportions, so I have to use the bottom one. Okay, so I'm using the one down here. So I'm going to start here with the alpha level. According to the question, it was 0.05. Uh-oh. It's asking me for a percent, so let me put 5% in there. Do you see the percent sign came up? Not sure I like that. But anyway, the percent sign came up, and so you have to put in 5%, not 0.05. My sample size for this question, I'm going to have to go back and forth because I don't remember. Let's see here. Let me click this. The sample size is 35, and the mean is 59. So I'll remember those two numbers, 35 and 59. Go back here. 35, 59. Okay, the standard deviation, I believe, was 6.8. Let me just double check that. Whoops, that's a comma, not a decimal. Let me double check that. So 59, 35, 59, and 6.8. 35, 59, 6.8. Okay, then the next thing I need to know is what the null hypothesis was. So in this case, I'm testing all this information against a null of 57.7. Okay, so 57.7. Whoops. And the key here then is to know which direction it is. And if you look carefully on my template, there's a little thing here to the right that allows us to use this drop-down menu that I put in so we can figure out if it's left tail, right tail, or two tail. Okay, so let's see what it was in the question. And the question states that it is right tail because it's greater than. So I do have all that coded in here. See how right tail has the greater than sign with it? So let's do right tail. Okay, once I have all that information, then everything here to the right gets filled in. And it gives us a lot of information then about the things I need for this. I need the p-value, and I need the t-score. Okay, so the t-statistic, I should say. So let's make sure that works. And then here's a conclusion here. I failed to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so let's go to the question and let's answer all the questions based on that. All right, so here we go. So in the question it says, what is the test statistic? So we have it from our template, 1.131. What is the p-value? That should be 0.133. There it is. Okay, the next one. The p-value, is it less than or equal to alpha or greater than alpha? So remember, if you want to convert this to percents or make sure you have enough decimal places if you're comparing decimals, this is 13.3% compared to 5%. So it's greater than alpha. Okay, the test statistic leads to the decision that since the probability of my sample or something more extreme happening is more than the critical value, then what I say is that I don't have enough evidence to reject. I want my sample to be an outlier or so extreme that it's unusual if I assume the null to be true, and then I can disprove the null. So here I have to fail. I never accept the null. I have to fail to reject it. Okay, I can't accept it. I can't reject it, but I don't have enough evidence to fail to reject it. I'm not saying that the null is true. I'm just saying I don't have enough evidence right now. All right, and then what's the conclusion? So that says there is sufficient evidence? Nope. There is not sufficient evidence to warrant the rejection of the claim that the population proportion is at. That looks good. Let's see what the other one is. There is not sufficient sample evidence to support the claim that the population mean is greater than 57.7. Let's see here. So this one didn't include the word sample. So it's this one. So you have to say sample evidence. So there is not sufficient sample evidence to support the claim. All right, so now that's how you would do these questions, and that's how you do the next ones. But let me take you through the other technology here to show you. So the second one I'm going to use is Minitab. So if you're done, like if you're going to use my template, you could probably shut the video off now because you got everything you need. For this question, all you need to do is get the t statistic, which is right off of my template. So you could just type those numbers in to get that. All right, so question 13, let's move on to Minitab. And Minitab here, okay, I already did the thing for us ahead of time, but I'll take you through the steps again. So I would go to Stat, Basic Stats. Again, I would do a one sample T. In the one sample T, it's going to default to one or more samples in a column, I need to click that little drop down and change it to summarize data. I typed in my summarized data. Now, the one thing you have to do then, compared to the confidence intervals, I do need to put a little check mark to perform the hypothesis test. But I have to tell Minitab one other thing. I have to tell it which way to do the hypothesis test, okay, the alternative. So I have to go to Options. It turns out that this confidence level, which I think at default is 95, you could use that. Basically, it's not going to impact my answer at all. But what does impact my answer is this alternative hypothesis. So then I have to change that to the right one. And I want the one that's greater than, because that was what was listed in the question. And then I click OK. And I click OK. And I get my answer. And you can see that I have my t-value. My t-statistic is right here, 1.13. And my p-value, 0.133. Uh-oh, we might have a problem here. Let's see how many decimal places I need for this t-value. Uh-oh, I need 3, and it's 1.31. I wonder if it will accept it with 2. I may have to change the settings. So, it's 1.13 here. Let's hope it works. If it doesn't work, just message me and I'll give you credit if you're using this technique. All right, and then the last technique I mentioned is using the website. So this time we're going to use the MathCracker website again, but this time the test for one population mean. And this is with the standard deviation unknown, which is what you would normally have. I know that sounds weird. It's the population standard deviation unknown. So the only things you have to change then is this. This will always be equal to in our class. We always set the null hypothesis as equal to. We have to do the alternative as greater than. And then this mu naught, or whatever this hypothesized value is, that's basically right here. That comes from the 57.7 in the question. All right. Then the sample mean, we see all these again. And I put the significance level this time in as 0.05. I don't know if 5% works. You can try it if you want. But when you click the solve button, it does take a good minute or so for it to generate all this information. And so when it generates it, it shows me what exactly I have in the question. It tells me that it's a right-tailed test. The rejection region, it tells me how far I need to be for it to be rejected. I don't need this information right now. The test statistic, I do need that, and it does do it to 3 decimal places, which is what I need. It says using the p-value approach, and that's the one I'm kind of focused on. The p-value is 0.133, and since it is greater than, and it actually shows you it's greater than, the null hypothesis is not rejected. And so the conclusion is it's not rejected, therefore there is not enough, they should have the word sample here, sample evidence to claim that the population mean is greater than 57.7 at that level. Okay, so we failed to reject the null hypothesis. And this is what it looks graphically. Okay, so this is the shaded region for my test statistic, and you can see that the p-value is quite large. All right, so that gives you a good flavor then of all 3 options. Using the website, using my template. I don't know which one's the easiest. The only one that could be an issue is when you're using Minitab, it doesn't display 3 digits for this. All right, well, let me know. If you're using Minitab, just shoot me a message, my instructor, and if it marks it wrong, I'll give you a question. But I'm going to tamper with the number of place values and see if I can change that. Okay. All right, well, I hope that helps.